Minasan! Welcome back for the first round of Evangelion research. Neon Genesis Evangelion. Yes, we're going to do some Neon Genesis Evangelion research for the first time. I don't know. I think it's just going to be a one-shot thing because Evangelion just only has one type of lore, and that is what the heck was all that? Oh yes, the infamous anime series Neon Genesis Evangelion. Had a whole single season, had two follow-up movies, and then a whole remake series of movies, and everybody's still like, what the heck are we watching here? Absolute mind screw. First time going to this channel, zachargkna, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. With explaining Evangelion, the lore of Japan's most brilliant sci-fi. Links are in the description below. What to expect from lore? Like I said, answers. I could use some answers here. I really want to figure out what the heck were they thinking when they were writing this. Hideaki Anno, what was going through that brain of yours when you came up with the concepts and whatnot, and the deconstruction. Somebody tells me that might not even get all the answers out of this lore here either. Alright, so get your notes ready as I'll do my post-research thoughts. This is a call to action. Comment, like, subscribe, follow, hit the notification button, and let us start the research.
Neon Genesis Evangelion, one of the most revered anime ever created. Also, a series notorious for making almost zero fucking sense.
Thank you.
So after watching End of Evangelion 4 times, reading the manga, and spending like 9 hours on the wiki, I'm gonna try to explain to you the lore behind Eva in a way that actually kind of makes sense. Keep in mind that some of the info in this video isn't directly given in the series and comes from extra material like video games, but it's all stuff that is considered canon to the main timeline. Let's get started. Chapter 1. Genesis. Billions of years ago, before humanity even exists, the events of the series are set in motion by powerful alien beings called the First Ancestral Race. This species are probably dying out for some reason or something, so to preserve their legacy, they send out 7 seeds of life across the universe. These seeds are huge aliens whose genetic material is supposed to create new life forms to inhabit a planet. Each seed is sent to a planet with a huge weapon called a Spear of Longinus and a copy of the Dead Sea Scrolls. These scrolls explain how the Seeds of Life and the Spears of Longinus work, and they also have prophecies that are supposed to predict a lot of future events. Now one seed, Adam, arrives on Earth in a huge egg called the White Moon. Adam holds the Fruit of Life, which basically means that the creatures it's supposed to create, which will become the angels, are going to be big and strong and powerful, and they'll have super solenoid or S2 engines, which will allow them to be self-powered without, like, eating and stuff. But before Adam can start creating its life, a second egg, the Black Moon, crashes into Earth, holding another seed called Lilith. This event is the first impact. The collision scatters debris from Earth that eventually forms the moon, like the real actual moon, not a black or white moon.
Wait. So, are you biblical metaphors aside, are you saying that Earth was the moon originally, and Lilith turned the original Earth into the moon? Did I hear that correctly? I'm sure I got that wrong. So everything that's in the Bible is aliens, of course, because Ezekiel. Grandpa Coqui always said that Ezekiel was about aliens, so the book of Ezekiel was about aliens. So I wouldn't put it past them that they went in this direction. But really, the moon was the original Earth, and Lilith just created the first impact. And wait, what?
Lilith's Spear of Longinus is either destroyed or lost in the impact. Now, unlike Adam, Lilith holds the Fruit of Knowledge, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's the power of consciousness and reason. Species with the Fruit of Knowledge, like humans, are physically weak, but they can create, invent, and build.
Okay.
Now, if one creature holds both Adam's Fruit of Life and Lilith's Fruit of Knowledge, they would be too powerful, a godlike being. They'd be as powerful as the First Ancestral Race. So to prevent this, Adam impales itself with its own spear to prevent it from creating life like it's supposed to.
Ah.
So with Adam in stasis, life emerges from Lilith, the Lilin, or as we call them, humans. Chapter 2, The Katsuragi Expedition. Fast forward to about 1,000 years before the events of the series, where a shadowy organization called Seele, German for soul, is formed. They want to cause human instrumentality, an event where all humans dissolve into an orange liquid called LCL and merge into one unified, sludgy being. It's never said for sure what LCL actually stands for, but fans sometimes call it Tang, like the orange juice, because it looks like that. In 1947, Seele finds the Dead Sea Scrolls, which, like I mentioned...
LCL. Oh, okay, yeah. No. I paused for a moment because my brain was thinking of the acronym LCL. I was thinking the primordial ooze. I think there was something liquid. Because I was thinking in terms of the nanite liquid level event. You know what I'm saying? Like ELE, extinction level event, LCL, in that manner. He kind of really got me there on that one.
have information that can predict the future, specifically the second and third impacts. Seele hopes that by following these prophecies, they can reach instrumentality. So, in the year 2000, they send an expedition to Antarctica to find Adam and research its S2 engine as a potential source of energy. This expedition is led by a man named Dr. Katsuragi, who brings along his daughter Misato. After discovering Adam, the Katsuragi team performs what they call a contact experiment, where human DNA is somehow injected into Adam. The experiment goes horribly wrong and causes the second impact.
Morons.
An explosion that melts the Antarctic ice cap and kills everybody present, except for Misato, whose dad put her in an escape pod. Because of the South Pole melting, sea levels rise, killing over 2 billion people. Seele covers up the experiment and claims that the explosion was caused by a meteorite impact. But with so many people dead, global wars erupt, some of which involve nuclear weapons. At least 1 billion more people die in these wars.
Yeah, of course that would happen.
Next year, in 2001. Seele sends a cleanup crew to Antarctica, which finds that the team was able to partially subdue Adam with the Spear of Longinus before they were all killed. Adam's body has now reverted to an embryo, and its soul has separated from its body. Seele manages to place Adam's soul in an artificial human body, creating Tabris, who's later known as Kaoru Nagisa. Before we talk about Seele's next steps, we need to learn about a few important characters. First is Yui Ikari, daughter of a prominent Seele member. In college, Yui meets a professor named Kozo Fuyutsuki, who becomes something of an academic mentor to her. The specifics of this relationship aren't totally clear, but it's implied that Fuyutsuki is romantically interested in her. Yui, though, likes a colleague named Gendo Rokubungi, a quiet man that her acquaintances think is pretty weird. Yui eventually drifts apart from Fuyutsuki and marries Gendo, who takes her surname Ikari. Some characters speculate that Gendo only married Yui for her connections to Seele.
That's why I took Ikari.
The series seem to say otherwise. Through Yui, Gendo becomes very involved with Seele. He goes to Antarctica with the Katsuragi expedition, but he and Seele know that the second impact is about to happen, thanks to the prophecies in the Dead Sea Scrolls. Seele intentionally causes the devastation of the second impact to fulfill the prophecy, but Gendo leaves before the contact experiment to save himself. Chapter 3.
Oh, guys. Man, Seele really sucks. They caused a whole lot of, they're the problem here. Oh, dang. That's pretty crazy. And then Gendo, of course, was taking advantage of Yui Ikari's entire status, so he can have the edge to advance himself. I get it. Pretty messed up, man. That's pretty messed up. But it's so dumb. I mean, how could Seele just go and do something that dumb without even knowing what's gonna happen? And poor Misato, to be down there when it all happened, and then a whole entire Earth gets flooded up. The whole Earth floods up. And and causes a whole world war. Everybody didn't know what the heck happened, so they just blamed each other and lobbed nukes. That's real smart. Oh man.
Garn.
Garn?
Thanks to Gendo's anonymous recommendation, Kozo Fuyutsuki is chosen as a member of the UN task force to investigate the South Pole. He can tell something fishy is going on, and he becomes obsessed with the Second Impact's cover-up. When he confronts Gendo with his findings later, Gendo invites him to join an agency called Garn, German for brain, that's being set up by Zila around 2003. Prominent members of Garn include Gendo and Yui, who now have
Yui
a young
really looks
child
like
named Shinji, Naoko Akagi, mother of Ritsuko, and Kyoko Zeppelin Soryu, mother of Asuka. Garn has a couple branches worldwide, but the most important ones to the plot of the series are in Japan and Germany. Garn has two main projects, the Magi and the Avas. The Magi is a supercomputer created by Naoko Akagi, modeled after her own brain. It has three sections modeled after parts of her personality: her as a scientist, as a mother, and as a woman. This computer will eventually be used to operate both the Japanese government and facilities run by NERV, Garn's successor, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Garn's other research project is for the Evangelion units, which will be needed to fight the Angels, who, according to the Dead Sea Scrolls, are going to show up in 2015. Garn creates the Evangelions from seeds of life. In most cases they use Adam, but for Unit 1, they use Lilith. Avas are huge life forms with no soul of their own, who have to be restrained with armor to be kept under human control. Several failed Ava prototypes are made before the first success, Ava Unit 0. In 2004, Yui Ikari does another contact experiment.
Yeah, she looks like...
this time with Unit 1.
Ray.
In what looks like an accident,
I know
she
she's Ray.
LCL and merges with the Ava. But this was actually intentional on
What I'm saying is that they did a good job, making Yui and Ray look identical, despite the different color hair.
Though it's not totally clear why. Some people speculate that Zila had discovered that her plans for human instrumentality were different than theirs, and she was afraid that Zila might kill her because of it. But all this info comes from a really vague conversation that we see between her and Fuyutsuki before the experiment, so we don't really know for sure. But she seemingly didn't tell Gendo about her plan. So, heartbroken, Gendo tries to retrieve her from the Ava, but he fails, and instead creates the first version of Rei Ayanami.
There you go.
A young body who kind of looks like Yui. Souls can't be created from nothing.
Yeah, you see what I'm saying?
Kind of look.
That's because they are. Gendo got a... his brain is in a whole nother world, man. They are the same. That's what I'm saying. They did a great job making the two of them look very identical. You would never have caught that in initial watching when you would see Yui. That you would never put it together that Ray is supposed to be a Yui.
Looks like Yui. Souls can't be created from nothing, and since Yui's soul is in Unit 1, Ray's body is empty at first. But at some point, she's given the soul of Lilith. This makes Ray and Kaoru counterparts. They're human bodies with the souls of Lilith and Adam, respectively. Meanwhile, over at the German wing of Garn, Kyoko Zeppelin Soryu tries a similar contact experiment to Yui, this time with Unit 2. Rather than losing her body and entire soul to the Ava, she only loses the part of her that loves her daughter, Asuka. So she survives the experiment, but she forgets Asuka and goes insane. She's sent to a mental hospital and starts talking to a doll that she thinks is her own daughter. Then, after discovering her husband is having an affair with her own doctor, she commits suicide in 2005.
Crazy.
A quick side note here, all of the candidates to be Ava pilots, which is Shinji's whole class, have dead mothers, and it's implied that Toji's mother might be inside Unit 3, like Shinji and Asuka's are in Unit 1 and 2, but this isn't ever actually confirmed. Anyways, back to the events in Japan. After Yui's death, Gendo sends Shinji off to live with a teacher of his. Gendo starts making a plan to reunite with Yui through his own form of human instrumentality. The details of this plan aren't super clear, but his intentions for the third impact are definitely different than Zila's. This disagreement will be important later in the story, but for now, Gendo and Zealous still work together. They have different end goals, but they know that they're gonna need each other to defeat the Angels when they arrive in a decade. Gendo remains with Garen as work continues on the Magi and the Aves.
Strange bedfellows.
At some point, he starts a sexual relationship with the chief scientist, Naoko Akagi, but he's only using her for his own purposes. In 2010, Rei, still a young child, tells Naoko she overheard Gendo call her an old hag. Naoko strangles Rei to death in rage and then commits suicide by leaping off the platform she's standing on.
Oh, dang.
With the first Rei dead, a second Rei is created and given Lilith's soul. There can only be one living Rei at a time, since there's only one soul of Lilith to fill her, but plenty of empty bodies are made for her. But with Naoko, the chief scientist of Garen, dead, Zila decides to restructure Garen into Nerv, which is German for, obviously, nerve. Nerv is run by Gendo, with Fuyutsuki as his second in command. Naoko's daughter, Ritsuko, is appointed as the chief scientist, while Misato, the daughter of Dr. Katsuragi, is the tactical field commander for the Eva units. Nerv's main purpose is to prepare for the Angel attacks in 2015. A fake committee called the Marduk Institute is set up to search for potential pilots for the Evas, but in reality the Institute is a fake. All candidates are actually picked by Ritsuko Akagi herself. As 2015 approaches, most potential pilots are sent to a school outside Tokyo 3, the Japanese city where Nerv headquarters is located and where the Angels will soon strike. Chapter 4.
Nerv.
Flash forward to the year 2015,
It's
when
time.
Angels start to attack. The 15 main Angels in the series are children of Adam, just like how humans are the children of Lilith. Remember that the children of Adam have the fruit of life, so each angel is really powerful, and each one can take a completely unique form.
A trolling
It's never
form.
totally clear when the angels' bodies were created. They might have been in eggs, since before even the first impact, but the angels were seemingly given souls on the day of the second impact, when Adam opened the very vague Chamber of Guff, which is some sort of place where unborn souls are kept. If an angel touches Adam, even more angels will be created, which is obviously bad for humans. Most members of Nerv think that the huge body that's rumored to be underneath Tokyo 3 is Adam, so they think that that's why the angels are attacking. But remember, Adam has been an embryo since the second impact.
Right, he was an embryo.
This embryo isn't even in Japan at the start of the series.
No.
The huge body under Nerv is actually Lilith. But the angels reaching Lilith would also be very bad, because it would start the third impact too early, with angels controlling the impact instead of humans. I'll talk a lot more about that later, though. The angels are either trying to reach Lilith or Adam, or some might just be attacking on instinct. But whatever the reason, they start attacking Nerv's base in Tokyo 3, starting the events of the main series. Keep in mind, as we talk about angels, that there are kind of two different definitions. The 15 angels that attack Tokyo 3 are the children of Adam. Because he has a human body with Adam's soul, Kaoru is a little different from the other 14, but he's still considered a child of Adam. But sometimes the word angel doesn't just refer to these 15 children of Adam, but it refers to anything that's born from the first ancestral race. So Adam and Lilith are considered the first and second angels, even though they're kind of not angels in the typical sense. Misato will also call humanity the 18th angel later in the series, since they're also born from Lilith. This is all really confusing for no reason, but I just wanted to clear it up.
Yeah, it's very
before we go
convoluted.
further. So angels 3 through 17 are the children of Adam that attack Nerv. The events...
But that kind of makes sense that humans would be one of the angels, because of the fact that since humans come from Lilith, when they put that that piece of DNA inside Adam, it created the second impact. So it does make sense that humans would be an angel in this regard. It's 100%. It makes 100% sense, or else the second impact would never have happened in the South Pole. So yeah, that absolutely does make sense for humans to be able, or else there's no way. That's 100. That basically story wise, that legitimately confirms, the second impact legitimately confirms that humans are an angel, Which number? Who cares? The point is that humans came from Lilith. They're an angel. Their DNA was put in, human DNA was put into Adam, and it caused second impact completely. That makes 100% sense for humans to be called an angel. Most definitely.
Until the final few episodes happen in a way that makes a decent amount of sense, so I'm not going to recap them all here, but a few things are going on behind the scenes that are worth talking about. First, Ryoji Kaji, an ex-lover of Misato, arrives with Asuka in episode 8 of the series. Kaji is a special inspector with NERV, but he's also spying on NERV for the Japanese government. And he's taking orders directly from both Zila and from Gendo. And he's also trying to uncover the mysteries of NERV just to satisfy his own curiosity. So he's somewhere between like a triple and a quintuple agent.
Crazy.
He manages to smuggle the embryo of Adam to Gendo, who needs it for his plan for the third impact. Gendo injects the embryo into his hand for later use.
That's gross.
The second behind-the-scenes secret is the relationship between Gendo and Ritsuko. Like he did with her mother Naoko before her, Gendo has a sexual relationship with Ritsuko to better manipulate her.
Gross.
The third secret is Rei, who, after her death to an angel, is replaced by a third Rei in episode 23 of the series. NERV has also been working on creating dummy plugs, which control the Evas without needing a human pilot, and these plugs are copied from Rei's brain patterns. Things start to get confusing again around episode 24,
Kaoru.
when Kaoru appears. Remember that Kaoru is a human body containing Adam's soul, making him the 17th and final angel, who also goes by the name Tabris. He doesn't really consider himself human despite his human body. Kaoru is sent by Zila as a pilot, the fifth child, to replace Asuka. He forms a relationship with Shinji, who feels cared for the first time in his life. But Kaoru then reveals himself as an angel and goes down to Terminal Dogma, the area under NERV headquarters where Lilith is. He's defeated by Shinji and lets Shinji kill him. It's not totally clear how much of Kaoru's actions are his own choice and how many are planned by Zila. Zila knows that Kaoru needs to be defeated by an Eva to allow the prophecy of the Dead Sea Scrolls to happen, so they basically send him to die. But Kaoru causes emotional damage to Shinji that helps put NERV in disarray, which is good for Zila now that all the angels are defeated. They don't need NERV anymore. It's finally time for the third impact. Chapter 5, Revelation. Now that the angels are all destroyed, the Dead Sea Scrolls say that it's possible for humans to cause the third impact.
What a shot!
And initiate human instrumentality. There are a lot of ways to cause the impact, and the specific rules behind it aren't totally clear, but it seems to be triggered by certain interactions between Adam-based and Lilith-based life. Zila originally wanted to use the Spear of Longinus and Lilith to start the impact, but the spear was lost in episode 22 when Rei threw it at the 15th angel. It ended up in space and eventually landed on the moon. So they instead decide to use Ava Unit 1, the only Ava created from Lilith, as a replacement. Now that Zila no longer needs NERV, they attack the base by hacking the Magi computer, and by sending a military force. They also send out the mass production Evangelions, Units 5 through 13. These Evas don't need umbilical cables. They're powered by S2 engines, which Zila was able to replicate based on an engine recovered from the 4th Angel. They're all given replicas of the Spear of Longinus to use as weapons, and they don't have human pilots, but instead dummy plugs copied from Kaoru's brain patterns. Zila uses the Ava series, born from Adam, and Unit 1, born from Lilith, to start activating their third impact. They want to dissolve the AT fields that give human bodies shape, kind of like hold us together, with an anti-AT field. This will cause humans to dissolve into LCL and combine into one being. This is human instrumentality. Meanwhile, Gendo is trying to activate his own third impact and beat Zila to it. Ritsuko tries to stop him and self-destruct Tokyo 3, but the Magi computer, which is, remember, modeled after her mother, refuses this order, and Gendo kills her. Gendo puts his hand, which contains Adam's embryo, inside Rei, whose AT field starts fading away. Gendo wants Rei to help him merge with Adam and Lilith. With both the Fruit of Life and Knowledge, Gendo would have the powers of a god, and be able to control the impact that he could unite with Yui inside Unit 1. But Rei refuses and decides to trust Shinji to control instrumentality instead of Gendo. She cuts off Gendo's hand and joins with Lilith herself. She then tries to merge with Unit 1, combining both Zila's and Gendo's plans into one single god.
But there was just one problem. Shinji's a whiny brat, and his emotional mind. He's a whiny little brat, and that chaotic brain of his, emotional damage of a brain, of a teenage brain, was just too much. It was just too much. His angst destroyed the world. His angst would be too much for Lilith to handle, and for the merger to be complete. That teen angst, those hormones, those raging, burning hormones, completely annihilated all of life.
This isn't what Gendo wanted, but Zila seems pretty happy with the outcome, because everybody's still gonna get tanged. Shinji resists at first, but the giant naked Rei takes the form of Kaoru to comfort him, so human instrumentality properly begins. After the surreal experience that is the second half of End of Evangelion, Shinji decides that despite all his pain, ending humanity would just be an escape. And he decides to stop instrumentality so people can live as individuals if they choose to, despite the pain that comes with it. After returning to his body, he sees Asuka next to him, and in a fit of traumatized rage, he tries to strangle her.
Weird ending.
Instead of resisting, she gently touches his cheek, and for once, Shinji feels affection. Genuine affection, what he's wanted his entire life. Shinji stops choking Asuka and breaks down crying. And that's the end.
And Asuka says, "Disgusting."
Stories ever told. Neon Genesis Evangelion.
This was a very fantastic, well done video. Beat by beat, piece by piece, all together, nice and straightened out. It makes sense. For the most part. I mean, there's still a few extra questions. Like, for example, what exactly was Sealy thinking? Like, were they looking to control the world or something? Then you had the angels. What were their motivation to go down there? We'll never know. That's probably fine. I mean, Kaoru was there to explain everything, but oh man, like, jeez, Lilith just put the fate of the world in the hands of an angsty teenage boy with raging hormones. Gendo wanted to be a god. That's a good, straightforward motivation. Jeez. All of that was very well laid out. And yet somehow, if you watch the story, it makes no sense. It's insane. It's insane. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy. It's crazy. I mean, we see this giant thing, and we're getting treated to an awesome kaiju type battle, and instead we get a mind screw. We get a mind screw, and it took a lore video, a well executed lore video, to straighten the whole thing out and make sense of everything. I think I think Gainax was tripping balls, man. They were tripping balls when they were doing all of this, you know. But now it makes perfect sense. You know, the whole timeline of events now just makes a lot more sense. And man, I think the 3.8 million people who watched this video was very happy for it. Oh man, yeah. But you know, Evangelion is definitely a classic. The way that they chose to wrote it was just like, where are you going with this? Where are you going with this? I don't want to say it's bad writing, but I don't want to say it's great writing either. You know what I mean? They wrote it out the way they wanted to write it out, and that's good. You know, they had their direction, their aesthetics, their thematics and such, and they just wanted to focus on those, the iconography and so on, because they do have a structured story. I mean, the plot was very straightforward in the initial part, and that is, a bunch of angels are coming in. They're looking to cause third impact, and these units that can only be piloted by children, 14-year-olds, have to be sent out to fight these things. And so they have to deal with between the government, an organization that wants to that's sneaking on the sly, and then manage a bunch of hormonal teenagers who are going through crazy angst and emotional and PTSD, fighting these giant, fighting freaking angels and such. That's not easy. And then you got Gendo, and I gotta say, to do it with 24 episodes, saying, really helped this story a lot, because because trying to explain what is on display is very difficult. You know what I mean? And tracking it along the way, especially when you have distractions like Pen. I think that is his name, right? Pen. Yeah. Saying, and then and you have Kaji. Oh man. Yeah. This was clearly not an easy write, and now I understand, and I can see why, the Evangelion, the 4 Evangelion movies exist, and that to try and straighten the whole thing out. Honestly, I was still perplexed by the whole thing, especially perplexed by the whole thing. You know what I mean? Because End of Evangelion had to be scrubbed in order to do these rebirth of Evangelions. Doing these rebirths. Well, no, Rebirth of Evangelion was another movie. Yeah, that was another movie. Rebirth of Evangelion and End of Evangelion was following up this one. The remake. I completely forgot the title name. Well, anyway, the Shin Evangelion series. There we go. I'll just go with that. Anyway, the point I'm saying is that the fact that this is been written twice over. One, which is the original series, and then the movie remake, is no tall feat, because when you create something that has people scratching their heads and saying, what? Yeah, you got to try and explain what it is that you want, saying, because you already knew what you want. Like, people, it was easy to follow. People followed it with no problem. It's when they did the trippy brain stuff that started throwing everybody off guard. But as everything started to come together, people got it. It's like, okay, aliens are trying to meet up with Lilith. They're trying to find Adam. They're meeting up with Lilith. You know what I'm saying? You gotta blow them all up. You know what I'm saying? Like, I would say it's not overly convoluted. It's just that they ended I think what happened was that Anno and his team and Gynax ended it with a trippy psychedelic drug trip. And I feel like I think that was the primary problem. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that was the primary problem with Evangelion, was the way Anno ended it, and they had to do the end of the Evangelion movies to make it very clear. Not sure. That's a very unusual art direction that Anno and Studio Gynax went with it, by having, going into Shinji's mind in the final episode, and then everybody's just sitting there clapping, and just left it at that. And it's it was very jarring. It really left everybody scratching their heads, and then they had to scramble and come up with an ending. I don't think they scrambled it. Probably was all planned and everything. I just think it's dumb, to have done that, because it threw everybody off on the story, and then it led to all these crazy fan theories that probably were way off the mark on the dartboard. You know what I'm saying? Like, they were hitting the wall instead of the dartboard itself, because that was the direction. Because this was the direction that Gynax chose to go with. It's okay to be psychological and trippy and doing one of these head games, saying, where you have to follow it. Like, for example, 12 Monkeys, another one, a very old movie called Millennium, where I think it was called Millennium, where the future would grab an airline and will take the people who would die and bring them to the future, replace them with dummies, saying for genetically made dummies, and those who survive would stay behind so they could be the survivors, and then the plane would crash, and it suddenly a botched mission caused a whole head game. Like if you don't follow it very carefully, you'll get lost. You have to follow, you have to follow every little detail about it. 12 Monkeys was another one. If you couldn't follow that very carefully, you'll get lost completely and never realize what happened at the end. And Evangelion was going for that direction. And I think the mistake Gainax and Ano did was the last episode of the series. Doing the whole psychedelic stuff and just left everybody saying, what the heck was this? I think that hurt the story more than anything else, honestly. And I would suggest writers not to do such things like that. Don't do things like that. Do not do that, writers. Just put the ending in there. Okay? Just put the ending. All right? Don't leave people wondering what the heck you were smoking. Never let people wonder what you were smoking. But most definitely, he seems to have more stuff. He's sitting on 11,000 subscribers. Man, go and subscribe to this guy. This was very well executed, very well done. And yeah, it is this series is very hard to understand, and this was very well. And he did it in 20 minutes. That's impressive that he was able to pull that off. zachargkna, good job. Like I said, links down in the description below. So head on over to Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com and grab yourself a copy of The Impossible Man, a strange fantasy novel written by me. You'll find links to the book down in the description below, along with links to other merch such as pins, stickers, t-shirts, music. Enjoy the products. Thank you for your patronage. And if you have a copy of The Impossible Man and did a lore video or analysis video on it, thank you very much on YouTube. And I look forward to seeing your YouTube video and hearing your thoughts on it. And if you're interested, you can join me on my live multi-stream every Monday through Thursday, 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Twitch and Kick, where I do lore research, Japanese cultural studies, and gaming. I look forward to hanging out with you, plus more. Until the next, yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't know if I'm going to do more Evangelion research. This thing just summed it all up. It's just summed it all up. So, that was the Evangelion, Neon Genesis Evangelion research. Until the next research, thank you all for joining me, and I wish you all a good night, a buenas noches, and oyasumi nasai.